It wasn't just another filming day at Mugello. It was a covert engineering operation, a silent emergency unfolding behind closed doors, far from the cameras, far from the press, and far from the assumptions the public has made about Ferrari's 2025 campaign. On paper, it looked routine, just another day of private running for the SF-25. But those who know the sport, who really understand what goes on beneath the surface, could sense something was different. This wasn't about gathering footage or running laps for show. This was about survival. Ferrari didn't bring Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton to Mugello to stretch their legs. They brought them there to uncover the truth. Why the SF-25, a car born from championship hopes, continues to fall short of its potential. Why it feels fast on Saturdays, but fragile on Sundays. And what they found may just expose the real flaw at the heart of Ferrari's 2025 project. Not a software glitch, not an aero tweak, something deeper, something fundamental, the kind of problem that, if left unsolved, could cost them far more than just this season. So why Mugello? Why now? Because it's quiet, it's remote, and most importantly, it's private. Ferrari chose this track for a reason. No grandstands full of fans, no media crews with long lenses, no distractions, just the sound of the SF-25 ripping through the Tuscan hills, lap after lap, with only a handful of engineers watching closely. But the car on track that day wasn't quite the same SF-25 that's been struggling all season. Hidden beneath its familiar bodywork was a major change, an overhauled rear suspension system that most people didn't even know existed. On the surface, it looked like a standard shakedown, but in reality, Ferrari was testing a bold new theory about why their car keeps snapping unpredictably through high-speed corners. The team believes the rear instability isn't just a driving issue, it's a mechanical one made worse by how the car reacts under dynamic loads. This private session wasn't just about gathering data, it was about finding answers to a technical crisis that's quietly been growing since winter testing. What Ferrari's engineers were really trying to uncover at Mugello wasn't just a small setup tweak or a marginal gain. It was the root cause of a much deeper issue. People on the outside have pointed fingers at drag levels or aero inefficiency, but the real problem with the SF-25 runs beneath all of that. It's the rear end, more specifically, the way the rear suspension behaves when the car is under stress, at high speeds, over bumps, or when changing direction quickly. The SF-25 has a habit of becoming unpredictable in these moments, and that's been killing both performance and driver confidence. In simple terms, the rear suspension flexes too much when the car is pushed hard. That flex changes the car's ride height in ways the team can't fully control, and when that happens, the airflow over the car becomes unstable. The result is a sudden drop in grip, especially at the rear, and a car that feels nervous and unsettled through fast corners. This isn't just uncomfortable, it makes it nearly impossible for a driver to trust the car, and without trust, they can't push to the limit. Ferrari's whole test at Mugello was built around this theory, that until they fix the rear suspension's behaviour, nothing else really matters. To tackle this problem head-on, Ferrari took a bold step. They didn't just tweak the suspension, they re-engineered it. The new system brought with it revised geometry, a reshaped layout designed to better control how the car responds under pressure. One of the key changes was in the anti-lift characteristics, which help keep the rear of the car more stable under braking and acceleration. They also adjusted the stiffness, striking a careful balance so the car doesn't bounce too much or feel too rigid. This wasn't a small adjustment. It was a complete shift from the setup they'd been relying on all season. The goal behind this overhaul was simple but ambitious: unlock a wider setup window. That means giving engineers more freedom to tune the car without running into stability issues, especially at tracks like Spa or Suzuka, where high-speed balance makes or breaks a weekend. And early signs from Mugello were promising. Insiders say Hamilton felt a real difference almost immediately. He described the rear end as more predictable, more planted through the fast corners, something the SF-25 had badly lacked. If that feedback holds true when they roll out this package at a Grand Prix, Ferrari might finally have a foundation they can build on. What made this test even more important wasn't just the parts on the car, it was who was behind the wheel. Lewis Hamilton wasn't just there to drive laps, he was there to influence direction. As a 7-time world champion, his experience carries serious weight, and in this case, his feedback didn't just match the data, it validated it. Engineers inside Ferrari were reportedly struck by how closely Hamilton's impressions lined up with what their simulations predicted. That kind of alignment doesn't happen often, and when it does, it signals something big. The car is finally starting to respond the way they want it to. For Ferrari, this might be the first real sign that bringing Hamilton into the team wasn't just a headline move. It was a turning point in how they think, how they build, and how they develop. But this shift isn't without tension. Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's golden boy, has carried the team through years of struggle. He's fast, loyal, and deeply embedded in the fabric of Maranello. But even he knows things are changing. Hamilton's presence is shifting the balance inside the team, and Leclerc has to navigate that carefully. Reports suggest his feedback during the test was positive but measured. He understands that this isn't just about making the SF-25 better. It's about laying the groundwork for 2026, and his voice now has to compete with one of the most experienced drivers in Formula One history. For Ferrari, the stakes are bigger than lap time. This is about leadership, direction, and choosing who they want to be when the next era begins. This isn't the first time Ferrari has found itself at a crossroads mid-season, facing a car that isn't living up to expectations and needing to act fast before an entire campaign slips away. In fact, the Mugello test echoes some of the most important turning points in Ferrari's history. Back in 2000, during the Schumacher era, the team cracked the code on rear-end stability, giving Michael the balance he needed to finally bring a championship back to Maranello after a long drought. That change in suspension design became a cornerstone of their dominance for years to come. Fast forward to 2017, and we saw the opposite. Ferrari had the speed to challenge for the title, but struggled with unpredictable rear behaviour. That issue wasn't solved in time, and it cost them dearly against Mercedes. Then there's 2010, when Fernando Alonso played a major role in reshaping the car mid-season. His feedback helped push Ferrari into a title fight that went right down to the wire. Now, in 2025, Ferrari faces a similar test. Will they take the lessons of the past about how critical stability, driver trust, and suspension balance really are, or will they repeat the same mistakes? The Mugello test may seem quiet from the outside, but it could be the first real sign that Ferrari is learning, adapting, and returning to the kind of smart, focused development that once made them champions. This moment feels familiar for a reason. If the changes made at Mugello actually work. When the lights go out at Spa, Ferrari could shift their entire strategy for the rest of the season. Instead of chasing every possible point in 2025, they might use the final races as a live development lab, a way to fine-tune the car not just for now, but for the big reset coming in 2026. That would be a smart move, because while winning races this year is still important, what really matters is building a platform they can trust and grow from in the long term. And that means focusing less on raw lap time and more on making the car consistent, stable, and adaptable across different tracks and conditions. What's interesting is that the new rear suspension might just be the beginning. Rumours suggest Ferrari is preparing a power steering upgrade for Hungary, another piece of the puzzle that could make the SF-25 and its successor far more driver-friendly. These aren't headline-grabbing changes, but together they point to something deeper, a shift in philosophy. After years of chasing lap time at the expense of stability, Ferrari could finally be investing in a car that gives drivers confidence every lap, not just in qualifying. And that kind of transformation is what wins championships in a new era. Now, everything turns to Spa. This isn't just another race on the calendar, it's Ferrari's moment of truth. If the suspension upgrade proves itself under full race pressure, it could be the breakthrough they've been chasing all season. It would give them the green light to move forward with a clear vision, not just for the rest of 2025, but for the car that will carry them into the next era. But if it doesn't work, if the instability returns, or if the drivers can't extract confidence from the car, then the problems with the SF-25 go from being technical issues to something far more serious. Questions will grow louder, pressure will rise, and Ferrari will be left searching for answers yet again. That's what's at stake now. This isn't just about lap times or podiums anymore. Ferrari didn't go to Mugello to find pace. They went to find a future, and what they discovered may define everything that comes next.